The heaviest punishments were carried out here, which was the center of Japan at the time. There are many people under the stairs. Cross the bridge to the other side. The maximum sentence at the time was being carried out on the terrace overlooking the opposite bank. The expressway bridge girder stands out now, but it used to look like this. Note the shape of the roof of the building in the upper left. The sinner was buried naked in a box with his neck exposed above the ground, left exposed for 3 days to nights, and then taken around before being crucified. Return to the opposite shore, and look at the opposite shore from the place where the sentence was executed. The inmates may have been looking at the river in the same way. An execution was being carried out somewhere in this square. It is now a boarding point for excursion boats. For Geshinin, or higher punishments of beheading, the punishment of being dragged around the city was added. It is said that criminals were dressed in clean clothes, tied up, and put on horses, and sometimes they were made to wear makeup and smoke cigarettes along the way in order to incite hatred among the townspeople. The people surrounded by criminals, holding boards and baskets with their crimes written on them, and weapons in their hands, were the discriminated people who were called so unclean that they are not people. They were also engaged in various miscellaneous tasks, including carrying out executions. After leaving Tenmacho and arriving at Shinagawa, the post town at the time, it was only a short distance to Suzugamori execution ground. There are still places where you can still feel the vestiges of those days. This road was the last road taken by people sentenced to death in Suzugamori. Before beheadings were carried out in Tenmacho, they were also carried out at Suzugamori execution ground. Other punishments include burning at the stake and crucifixion, and the equipment that was actually used at the time still remains. Many people still come and go on this street. At that time, there were no other major roads other than this one, and it is easy to imagine that even more people were passing through it. The sinner who was carried around on a horse must have continued down this road, cursing at the people passing by. If you cross the bridge ahead, you are only a short distance from Suzugamori execution ground. Whether you like it or not, you have no choice but to be aware that your life is numbered. Named Namidabashi because it is said that prisoners crossed it in tears. Families silently bid farewell, shedding tears as they crossed, as the execution grounds awaited on the other side. If you cross the Namidabashi bridge, you will arrive at Suzugamori execution ground in a few minutes. What were the death row inmates thinking as they proceeded along the road ahead? Suzugamori execution place. Burning and crucifixion took place around here. The base used for the burning. The base used for the crucifixion. Memorial Tower. The well where decapitated heads were washed before being exposed at the Tenmacho execution site. Many executions were carried out at this execution site, which later became the subject of kabuki plays. Suzugamori execution site, like Kozukapara execution site, can be seen from the windows of trains carrying many commuters heading to central Tokyo every day. This is Shinagawa Aquarium, where many children visit every day. What you can see from the train window is this signboard indicating the Suzugamori execution site. Under this thicket of trees is the well mentioned earlier where the decapitated heads were washed, and the base for crucifixion and burning. This building is a temple to commemorate the souls of those who were executed. A little distance from Suzugamori execution ground is a mound called Kubizuka. The temple where the mound is located is also called Nagikomidera, and is said to have been used to hold memorial services for people who had no family to rely on, unidentified drowned corpses, and bodies thrown in after dying from epidemics or disasters. Mounds were built to hold memorial services to the heads of people who were executed or beheaded. It is also known as Headache Mound because there is a rumor that worshipping at this mound will cure your headaches. During the Edo period, the age of the samurai, there were punishments that are unimaginable today. This video introduces the punishments used at that time. They have carried out countless beheadings. What is the surprising reason why he was able to make such a huge profit by performing the dirty job of being an executioner, which regular samurai would not engage in, as it was considered dishonorable? In the Tenmacho prison, prisoners had to endure various forms of torture every day, and murders between prisoners were commonplace. There was also an execution field on the premises of the prison, where decapitations were carried out. At the site, the bell that heralded the execution of a sentence, and the stone wall that used to house the prison still remain. Those who committed the most heinous crimes were carried by horse with their body restrained, and transported to Nihombashi, the center of Edo. The terrible punishments practiced there. What did the criminals think as they crossed the Bridge of Tears and were transported to Suzugamori execution ground? At this location, there are remains of the well where the heads of decapitated criminals were washed, as well as the foundations used for burning at the stake and crucifixion. The executed bodies were thrown into a nearby temple, so this temple is also called Throwing Temple. A huge jizo that has seen countless executions. This place has a different history than other execution site. This jizo can be seen from the window of the train that carries many commuters towards the center of Tokyo every morning. Human bones are still often unearthed in this area during construction work. It is said that books on the sharpness of swords and books on medicine were completed due to the existence of this execution site. But what was going on at this place? People who were considered unclean and not human were forced to perform tasks such as preparing for the punishment, carrying out the execution, and cleaning up after the punishment. A look into the life of a man who worked at Suzugamori execution ground and became an object of people's faith. Executed in the Edo period commit. And what kind of punishment were they given? Explore their crimes and punishments.
Japan Beat provides information about Japan that is not well known. Thank you for watching until the end. We will be encouraged if you like and subscribe.